what's up YouTubers, Lee John Blackmore here at Super Easy Guitar. So this week I want to show you how to change between your chords quicker and smoother, and hopefully with more clarity as well, okay? So I did a few videos not so long ago using 3 chords to play 10 songs. And I did 2 of these videos, and one of them was using G, D and C, and the other one was using D, A and E. And most of my questions come from, oh, I can't change to G to C, I can't change from D to E. So what I'll do in this video, I'll address those points, and I'll also give you some tips on what you should be doing to change between the chords. Also, I'll go through the major and minor positions that you should know, and I cover some bar chords, what else you can do if you can't play bar chords, and I touch on power chords as well towards the end of the video. So make sure you check out the entire video, even if you think it's too advanced for you. Actually, there's a few things in there that might help you along. Let's zoom in and have a closer look. First of all, let's look at the chords that I was talking about in the video. So the first video are 10 songs using G, C and D. So let's say, for example, we want to go G, D, then C. So the thing to remember is, obviously your posture has to be really good to get good sound. All right, and then I'm always using shortcuts to find where these chords go. Ideally, what we want to be doing, we want to be playing the chord, lifting our fingers away, and then straight back in, so all our fingers go down on the chords at the same time. Now, there's a few little things I've done over the years that have become a habit. For example, when you're playing G, now, if you're doing the modern G, or we call it the sweet G, as opposed to, okay, so we're covering that B string. What I get my students to do is leave this third finger on, put your finger on it, and then change to D, and then go back to G. Now, I'm not, the sound might not be perfect, so I'm not that worried about the strum at the moment. Just practice leaving that third finger on, moving the fingers over to that D shape. When you come to the G, obviously the pinky goes on under here. So what I'm always looking for is I tend to follow one finger at a time. Going from G to D, I'm leaving my third finger on, but I'm also using my first finger to find that note under there, okay? Which happens to be an A. Okay, so I'm putting my first finger on the 2nd fret on the G string. And then look, my 2nd finger will just tuck under that, and I've got the D already. When I go back to the G, and I'm now watching my 2nd finger, and I want to hit that low note first, because when I'm changing, even if I don't get the first finger on in time, when I strum, it's still going to sound good, okay? And remember to take that pinky off when you play the D, otherwise you end up playing the suspended 4th or sus4. So that's one little trick to get from G to D. So what about from D to C? That's a bit of an awkward change. So the thing to do here is all you do is move your first finger onto the B string, the 2nd string, slide it down. Then you can add your 2nd finger and then your 3rd finger. That's how to find the form, okay? But really what we want to do, D, we want all the fingers at the same time. So you might get really good at placing those fingers one at a time. 1, 2, 3. But really, as we're strumming, the first note we're going to hit with C is the A string. Okay, but if that's not there, if you're still planting your fingers down, you're going to get this nasty sound. So what we really want to do is follow the 3rd finger. okay, and then I'm going 3, 2, 1. Because at least then, if you've got that root, it'll sound a bit nicer than without the root, okay? So that's two things to think about. The other thing is you want to keep your fingers really, really close to the strings. I'm hardly coming away. Now, a lot of my students, I see them doing this, okay? D, and then where's C? Okay, that finger there, that finger there, that finger there. And that just slows everything down, right? So if you keep your fingers, you can keep them touching the string. Now, that's another way I've just played C from D. All I did, I slid my finger down to the first fret, moved it over 1, and then formed the second and third there. So some chords you'll see, there's no straightforward, easy shortcut, but there's a few things you can do, like making sure your posture's good, keeping those fingers close, and slowing everything down. That's going to help you a lot, all right? And always practice the chord changes that you're not good at. So if you're not good at D to C, just do that over and over, okay? So the other video I did were the chords E, A, and D, all right? So if we took, let's take it the other way around. So let's go D, A, and E. This can be a really easy chord change because there's a couple of different ways you can play A. So there's D. Now what you can do, first of all, you can just move your first finger back in the same fret, giving your second and third fingers room to play either side of them. So coming from D, just slide it back a bit into the fret. The second finger goes on the D, the third finger goes on the B, okay, or the fourth string and the second string if you don't know the names. And there's an A. Normally we play A3 in a row. You can do that as well. So there's D, hop it over one string, get the two fingers underneath. Okay, I'll do that again slowly. D, hop it over one string, squeeze the two fingers underneath. All right, again, my fingers are super close to the fretboard. If you want to go from D to E, it's easy. So you just slide your first finger down one string and get these two fingers together on the A and the D, okay, the fifth and the fourth, and your first finger doesn't come off. So always try and find a finger that can stay on or slide around between those chord changes. And obviously that works the other way around. So now if I go from E to D, I just slide that up and then I'm back there. And leaving your finger down will keep your fingers closer to the strings anyway. All right, so for that E, A, D, go E, slide it back, get those two over, slide it down again, E. And then the other way around, slide the first finger up, not all the way, those two fingers either side, and just move it up a little bit and form that D again, okay? Now, the one thing I do get my students to do a lot is time themselves on playing all the chords. Now, you might not know all the chords, but you should, okay? Especially if you're learning songs. So what I did at the beginning, I just run through them. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Now, there's going to be a few chords in there. Maybe F and B you're a bit scared of. You know, maybe even C. But don't be scared of any chord because when you first start, yeah, it's difficult, but your fingers will start picking these shapes up. So the best exercise, I would say, to change between chords, just time yourself. So set the timer or get your friend to time you, okay? And A. Now, if you can't do a B, because that's a more advanced chord, right? What I'm going to say to you is do a B5. Now, a B5 is just a power chord. So what we do, we go from the A, normal A, we move our first finger over one, and then we move our third finger, or pinky, if you can't stretch, into the fourth fret on the D string, the fourth string, okay? And all you're going to do is play the A and the D string. You're only going to play the strings that your fingers are on. Now, at first you might find this really difficult, but if you slow down, if you make sure you're careful on which strings you touch, it'll get really easy. Okay, so all of my students managed to pick this up. Move it over one. That's going to be B, okay? Its real name is B5. And then we're going to go from there to C. So I'll watch my first finger and to D. I'm using that slide tactic for E. Now move that first finger over one string from the G to the B, okay? Or from the third finger to the third string to the second string. And really you want to flatten that down. It looks like a C, but a C's there, right? It's over. But you bring those over one, flatten the first finger. Now if you can't flatten that first finger, it's a little bit of a bar. You can just play it as a C for now, okay? Just until you get used to this shape. So let's go back to the beginning. A, B5, C, D, slide down, E, first finger over, F, and then to G, you want to watch this first finger here, and so we were on F, move it there, second finger into the third fret, and then get those fingers on underneath. So let's go back to F. All right, now I'm muting it with my arm here. Watch the first finger, bring it up to the second fret on the A string. Then this second finger is going to go here, and then stick those underneath. That's the quickest way to get from F to G smoothly. So A, B5, C, D, E, F, G. Let's see how fast I can do it. Okay, maybe 3 seconds or something, I don't know, 4 seconds. So if you get down to 10 seconds, guys, you're doing really good. If you're over a minute that I would expect as a beginner, that's fine as well. Now you've got something to reference to see how you're getting better. But remember, don't compromise the sound. So if it takes you a whole minute to change between these chords, that's absolutely fine, as long as it sounds really nice. Don't be disheartened if it takes you longer. I've practiced these chords for years and years, okay? Now, sometimes you might say, I can change between the chords, no problem, but it doesn't sound too hot. And the reason being is probably because your posture isn't quite correct. You know, you might get this, or you get these horrible sounds. Now, it's usually one or two things. It's usually your fingers are in the correct position, but you're not pressing down hard enough. So pressing down hard enough, not too hard, so you're killing your fingers, and you do get these lines in your fingers. But just so this sound rings out, okay? And the other thing will be your fingers might be touching the strings next to. So to avoid that, it means your fingers are angled too close to the other strings. So a way of getting around that is by putting the thumb on that imaginary line behind the fretboard. Okay, sometimes you see my thumb up here and stuff. That's more advanced, okay? We can get to that in a later date. But as a rule of thumb, okay, your thumb stays on that imaginary line behind the fretboard. And that creates good posture, and you'll be able to change between those chords, and you'll sound really nice when I get the chords correct. Okay, so that's the other thing. Remember where your thumb goes, and things will sound much nicer. Now, it's very important to try and learn all the minor chords as well. But the only problem is it's slightly more advanced, because learning the minor chords, you have at least 4 bar chords. Let's have a look. A minor, it's nice and easy. B minor is a bar. C minor is a bar. D minor you can play open. E minor is open, easy. F minor, you can play it as a bar. And G minor, you can play as a bar. So you could skip the bars. You could say A minor, D minor, E minor. Okay. And then you could try and learn some bars. So all we're going to do, to get the B minor, you're going to play an A minor shape and swap the fingers around. And then slide that up 2 frets. Okay. So you're playing exactly the same shape as an A minor. And then you're going to slide them up 2 frets and you're going to lay that finger down. So the first finger touches the 2nd fret on the A string. You don't want to play the bottom E in this case, right? So now that's B minor. So to play C minor, all we do, because this note is B, that's what gives the shape its name. You move it up 1, everything up 1, okay? And now that becomes C minor. So this is a movable chord. So this shape, you could move it up to the 7th fret and it would become E minor. Okay? So what you want to try and do if you're going to learn those bar chords is not take your fingers away. You want to leave your fingers on and just take the pressure off and slide them along that fretboard. Okay? Now looking at the F minor, it's just the same as an E minor. So an E minor we might do with those fingers, but we're going to play it with our 3rd finger and our pinky. So that's a normal E minor chord there on the 2nd fret of the A string, 2nd fret of the D string, or the 5th and the 4th if you don't know the names. So there's your E minor. Now all we have to do is slide that up 1 fret and cover all the strings. And there's your F minor bar chord. Now it gets its name from this first note here, which is F. And this is what we call a minor form. Now you could move that up 2 frets. So now your first finger's in the 3rd fret and your 3rd and pinky are in the 5th fret. I'm not doing anything with this, okay? It's just tucked in there. It's not touching any strings. But now because that note there is G, it becomes G minor. F minor, 2 frets up. G minor. Yeah, you guessed it. If I go 2 frets up again, it'll become A minor. So now you know the importance of learning the notes on this bottom string. The other thing is, if you can't do bars, if they're too advanced, you could use the power chord position. Okay, it doesn't matter where you move them. You could play 1,000 songs just in power chords. Remember, power chords, they're just 5th chords. That's the real name. And they just get their name, the 5th, from the 5th note in the scale. So if we're playing G5, goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm just playing the major scale. And that note then is D. So we play G and D. Okay, that's what we call G5. And you can play that anywhere along the fretboard. So for example, if you had a song and it was B minor and then G minor, and you couldn't do the bars, all you have to do is do the 5th chords. So obviously you don't get that extra tone that makes it kind of sad or dark. But it will get you by. If you're singing and playing, it'll be fine. So that goes for actually any chord. You could turn any open chord, A, C, D. You could change that into a power chord, A, C, D, or here, A, C, D. So to sum up, really make sure you know your chord shapes. Practice the changes that you can't do. Find relationships between the changes. What fingers can you leave down? And also keep the fingers as close to the fretboard as you can at all times. So I hope you found that helpful, guys. Don't forget, give me the thumbs up if you enjoyed the lesson. Subscribe if you haven't already subscribed. Share it with your friends. You can check out my channel, and I've got tons and tons of other lessons. There's some links below for Spotify and Instagram and Facebook. So if you wanted to send me a message or a request, I'll do my very best to reply to you guys, okay? So enjoy.